The same problem in a political movement. You cannot say, now I'm starting something which will. You have to say we, and we all know that this we will maybe exist as the result of what I'm saying now. I'm so sad, but this is counted already as a debate. It's not included in the 20 minutes. And now, if you know, now, another digression, but it's a beautiful book. You know the guy François Bayard, a French writer, who wrote some wonderful paradoxical books like the one about Agatha Christie, The Murder of Roger Ackroyd, where in a totally naive proof that the solution there is the wrong one. Not the narrator, but his sister did it. He now wrote a book of anticipatory, how do you call it, plagiarism. Where he demonstrates how, for example, the only way to read properly Maupassant is that he plagiarized Proust, who comes after him. Of course, he is he. But what he claims is that sometimes writers do write in this way that the only way to truly get what they arrive at, what they were doing, is to read them retroactively, but nonetheless, at the factual level, they themselves created this future to be. So this would be my we. I refer to it, but if things will not turn too bad, maybe through other idiots like me who refer to it, there will be this much. Okay, so let me go on. Okay, now I will really try to switch. End of shows. How all this works with ecology? Okay, two problems. First, this oil spill. Unfortunately, this is what I mean by, I would just like to illustrate what I developed at the beginning about this, how this parliamentary legal state form is not enough. The Louisiana oil spill. You know Freud's dream on Irma's injection. What's the form? First, this terrifying look into Irma's throat, you see the horror. Then 3 idiots come, 3 doctors who provide ridiculous reasons for why the treatment didn't work. So we have a trauma and then a symbolic comedy. That exactly was the structure, of course, in Washington. We saw the trauma, which was, you remember that undersea TV shot of the jet oil spilling out, and then we had the 3 idiots, the representatives of British Petroleum, Transocean, Halliburton, each of them playing this stupid game, putting the blame onto another. But more said, not only was this an undignified comedy, Obama also disappointed me here, because I think that even some conservatives noted this. The problem was that his reaction, at least till recently, remained too much in this formal, democratic, legal domain. He was looking for a legal culprit. You know, he even said once something which is at a certain common sense level patently not true. He said, it's BP's problem. No, sorry, it's not BP's. I know he didn't mean it in this way. He meant like, who is guilty is BP's problem. But I'm sorry to tell you, it's not BP's problem. It's the problem of the millions of people there. Not only United States, even northern Cuba, Mexico, spreading around. And what I'm simply saying is that, and when Obama said, I almost became sympathetic to BP when Obama said, you know, I will kick them in the ass and so on. Of course, they should be kicked in the ass. But the first thing to say is that, A, the problem, don't you think that the problem is way too serious to approach it in this legal responsibility sense? I will make BP pay every cent. That's nonsense. So much is already destroyed that this statement is meaningless. Point 2. Now, I'm not paid by BP, but nonetheless, my God, isn't it that up to a certain point at all, it's contingent that it was BP on whose field this accident happens? Don't all of them use basically the same mechanisms and so on, machinery? So probably at least up to, maybe BP was, I don't know, a little bit worse than others, but it could have happened with somebody else and so on. So isn't it that what should be done is a much larger mobilization, not only state playing legal games, but mobilizing ecological plans, mobilizing people in Louisiana. I would even have been, at least they would have been doing something much more rational than fighting wars in Afghanistan. Mobilizing the army, starting to ask questions, how do we deal with this kind of problems, and so on. I mean, problems explode here, which again, that's my point, so that you will not suspect me of some, that by criticizing just the frame of formal democracy that I am already dragging behind, I don't know, Comrade Stalin and his leftists. No, I'm speaking about even more radical democratic mobilization, not only in the sense of mobilization like wider circle of people, but also at a different level. It's not a legal game of culprits, it's a game of our way of life, of how we have to change it. Why do we drill oil, and so on and so on. There is, I think, more truth than in these legal games in a wonderful anecdote that happened to, I cannot resist it, Ted Kennedy. I don't know if you know it. 30 years ago, Ted Kennedy, who was still alive, they had already a debate in Senate about oil drilling. No, about offshore drilling. And Kennedy was opposed. Then something happened. The irony is that exactly there, off south of New Orleans, where oil is spilling now, Kennedy was caught, then a senator, by a paparazzo, well, doing some drilling. That is to say, in the middle there, making love. It's unambiguous. I saw the comments. And then here I almost started to appreciate Republicans. Then at the next session of Senate, a Republican senator turned to Ted Kennedy and said, I'm glad to see that Senator Kennedy has changed his position on offshore drilling. This is one, but Kennedy said, denied, and I think our slogan should be, Kennedy's offshore drilling is the only offshore drilling acceptable. One. Okay. Squeeze the topic, but what I am, let me, for similar, okay, since the time of the end is approaching, I would like to point to another track of how, here I would like to refer even to some people who are generally associated with LSE, your school, Ulrich Beck. Again, I don't fully agree with him, but there are definitely things to be learned from Ulrich Beck. Especially something which is more than actual confronting all these ecological problems. Ulrich Beck, I think, was the first to draw attention to the wonderful ambiguity and novelty of the term we all use, expert opinion. My God, even when I was young, experts didn't have opinions. They knew it. We common sense idiots had opinions. Then you ask the expert, he tells you how things are. But do you notice how now, precisely when science is pervading all our spheres of life, all of a sudden, you don't get from experts the truth, you get opinions. He thinks that, the other guy thinks that, and here I must unfortunately disappoint you. I think there is an inherent truth in it. That is to say, even with global warming, I don't buy those leftist paranoiac story who claim that doubts about global warming are simply the result of some dishonest biologists and so on being bribed by big companies. Of course, there is probably that. But there are effectively uncertainties. My conclusion is only this doesn't mean we can go on exploiting nature. It means that the situation is even more open. We really don't know that the causality is so non-transparent, which is why another thing. The mythic notion which we all use, and it's, I think, pure ideology, is limit value. What you usually get from experts is a limit value. Like, now it's fashionable to say, we can afford 2 degrees Celsius of heating. But this is, are we aware that this is totally mythical? I mean, usually we take, you know, it's the same as, I spoke with a lawyer in the United States where they try to fixate at what point your Holocaust denial becomes a crime. And I'm not kidding. They are now, the number that is emerging is, don't ask me why, is 5,150,000. And I told them, are you crazy? Like, if I said the Nazis killed 5,160,000, I'm a good guy. If I say no, they killed only 5,140,000, I'm a Holocaust denier.